Welcome to Swolefam. Even though we love the frantic action of Warcry and the skirmish gameplay of Kill Team, there's something to be said about fielding a big army. Hence why I starting Sigmar. For whoever is new to the channel or series, the mission of these videos are to help new players make a fun and efficient army from a specific faction, rounding out to a 1,000-point list, which is the lowest tier of competitive play. We also want to make it easy to acquire these items and enjoyable to hobby with. The criteria are as follows. We avoid making lists with repeat models. Models need to be easily accessible either from a Games Workshop store or Amazon. I like to support local, but sometimes prices can't be beat online. All models suggested are in plastic, and we only focus on armies with the current edition's battle tomes. We're in the 3rd edition of Age of Sigmar, otherwise these videos would go out of date quicker. So let's get stuck in with the devious Kruleboyz. So why play Kruleboyz? If your brand of Auric is to channel more Mork than Gork by employing cheap tricks, dirty tactics, and have one of the best model ranges in all of Sigmar, you're in luck. The Kruleboyz are for you. Kruleboyz lurked into Age of Sigmar starting with 3rd edition, being part of the launch box with Stormcast. While the models looked great, they sat on shelves for months because they're infamously underpowered rules. As 3rd edition crept along, Kruleboyz were given numerous points drops and rules updates. Now they are poised to be in the spotlight once more, and with a new Vanguard box released, it was time to talk about them. As I mentioned, they play more tricksy than their Auric brethren, heavier emphasis on spells, ranged options, and baseline mortal wounds output. They can't take a hit, but can find ways to deliver one, especially with some potent bruiser options on their roster. Thankfully, their increased attention, being a new faction, has given them a sizable roster of fantastically sculpted models from Games Workshop, including an Underworld's warband and newly released Warcry 1 as well. So creep out of the swamps, sling mud in a Stormcast's face, and spring the attack in the name of the Kruleboyz. Now I usually do units to look out for, but Kruleboyz have so much to offer, I'm doing boxes to look out for. Starting with the Kruleboyz Regiment of Renown. If you want more ranged options, this is a cheap way to get them. The Kruleboyz Monster Killers from the Warcry Warband, Kruleboyz Battle Force box from last Christmas, and of course Dominion. All have great Kruleboyz options for great value. Especially Dominion nowadays, it was overproduced. Even though it's a great box, there's so many around, LGSs and even online are looking to get this box out of their stores. I have legit seen this box for as low as $89 in multiple LGSs. And for around 800 points of Kruleboyz, you literally can't beat that. Now onto the buy list. And this is using the Vanguard box per usual. Even though it's branded as Auric War Clans, it's entirely Kruleboyz models, hence why this starting Sigmar exists now. For additional purchases, we're going to buy a Boltboyz box, as well as a Swamp Boss Scumdrek box, which we're going to make the Snatcher Boss on Sludgeraker Beast, that's hard to say, to complete the list. This totals to about $250. There's tons of other ways to build a Kruleboyz list for cheaper. I just wanted to make sure this list had a Snatcher Boss, because he's really good and kind of a key piece to a lot of Kruleboyz armies. On to the list itself, and we're going big yellers because out of the Vanguard box, we need to make those Boltboyz battle line. But it's also not a huge issue because we have 2 units of Boltboyz, one from the Vanguard box, one that we bought on our own, and a Beast Skewer kill bow. So you have a lot of range capacity in this list. We have some real beaters for our heroes. The Killer Boss on Great Gnashtooth has a 3-up save and can take a hit. The Snatcher Boss on Sludgeraker Beast has so much value, not only price-wise to points, but also just because he gives so much flexibility with what you want to do with your command traits or artifacts, and mount traits as well. It's such a key piece to, like I said, a lot of lists, including this one. Lastly, the Gut Rippers from the Vanguard box will sit on a forward objective, try to soak some damage, and plink out some mortal wounds when they can. This is the style of Kruleboyz I like to play, but there's tons of other ways to build them. So that's it! This was a starting Sigmar I wasn't planning on making actually, but this Vanguard box came out super late in the 3rd edition, so here we are. As I keep saying, I could focus on for hours how many ways there are to play and cool centerpieces like Gobsprak that you could include, in your lists, but I digress. As always, this is Rafik with Swolhammer. Stay swole.